The galactic hegemony had ruled unopposed for 3 millennia, from the crystalline spires of Zinthari Prime to the floating cities of Aqueous. Every civilized species bent the knee to the Council of Supremes. Their philosophy was simple: the strong commanded, the weak obeyed, and order prevailed through calculated fear. Admiral Kethvar of the hegemony's Fourth Fleet adjusted his ceremonial cloak as his flagship, the Dominion's Edge, approached the newly discovered system. These primitive bipeds called it Sol, and their homeworld Terra, or as they named it in their quaint language, Earth. The species had barely achieved faster-than-light travel, their crude vessels limping between nearby star systems like wounded animals. "Standard protocol, Commander," Kethvar ordered his subordinate, a sharp-featured Vorthak whose loyalty had been purchased through the traditional means of intimidation. "Demand immediate surrender. If they comply, we integrate their workforce. If not—" He gestured dismissively at the weapon arrays lining his ship's hull. What the Admiral didn't expect was the response that crackled through their communications, array 30 minutes later. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force ship Prometheus. We've received your ultimatum, Admiral Kethvar." The voice was calm, almost conversational. "We respectfully decline." Kethvar's mandibles clicked, in amusement. Respectfully decline? These creatures were even more primitive than anticipated. "Perhaps you misunderstand the situation, human," he replied, savoring the alien word. "You face the might of the galactic hegemony. Your world has 2 options: submission or extinction." There was a pause, then something Kethvar had never encountered in 3 decades of conquest: laughter. "Admiral, we appreciate the ultimatum, truly. But you see, we humans have a different approach to conflict resolution. We'd like to invite you and your crew aboard our ship for dinner." The bridge fell, silent. In his neural implants, Kethvar could sense his crew's confusion rippling through their shared tactical network. "Dinner? During a conquest?" "You mock us," he snarled. "Not at all. We're quite serious about our hospitality. We've prepared a feast, in your honor. Our finest chefs have been working for hours. There's roasted meat, fresh vegetables from our hydroponics bays, and something special we think you'll enjoy. We call it fire-cooked food. It's an ancient human tradition." Kethvar's tactical advisor, a cold-blooded Repthan, leaned forward. "Admiral, this could be a trap." "Of course it's a trap," Kethvar replied. "But what could these primitives possibly do to us?" "Very well, humans. We accept your invitation, but know that any treachery will result in your planet's immediate incineration." An hour later, Admiral Kethvar found himself in the most bewildering situation of his military career. The human vessel was smaller than expected, its corridors cramped by hegemony standards. But something felt different. Unlike the sterile, fear-soaked atmosphere aboard his own ships, this place hummed with something he couldn't identify. "Captain." Chen met them at the airlock, a small woman with graying hair and bright eyes that held no fear, only curiosity. She extended her hand, and after a moment's hesitation, Kethvar grasped it with his own armored appendage. "Welcome aboard the Prometheus, Admiral. We're honored to host you." The dining hall was unlike anything in the hegemony's experience. Instead of the rigid hierarchical seating arrangements that dominated their society, humans sat in clusters, talking and laughing. The air was thick with aromatic smoke from something they called a barbecue grill. "Fire cooking," Captain Chen explained, leading them to a table laden with unfamiliar foods. "We discovered it maybe 500,000 years ago, changed everything, for us." As the meal progressed, something extraordinary happened. The humans didn't cower or posture. They asked questions about hegemony culture, about the worlds Kethvar had seen, about the technologies they'd developed. When his weapons specialist mentioned the crystalline energy matrices that powered their fleet, a young human engineer lit up with genuine excitement. "Fascinating. We've been working on something similar, but our approach is completely different. Would you mind if I showed you our designs? Maybe we could learn from each other." Learn from each other. The concept was so foreign to hegemony thinking that Kethvar's translator struggled with the phrase. Then came the moment that would be remembered across both civilizations. An elderly human, they called him Chef Martinez, approached with a plate of meat that had been cooked directly over open flames. "Admiral," he said with a warm smile, "this is for you. It's our way of saying, welcome to our home." As Kethvar tasted the fire-cooked meat, something cracked inside him. The flavor was unlike anything in his experience, not just the taste but the intention behind it. This wasn't submission or defiance. This was something the hegemony had forgotten existed. Genuine hospitality. "Why?" he asked Captain Chen suddenly. "Why treat us as guests when we came to conquer you?" Chen leaned back in her chair, considering. "Because that's what humans do. We've had our share of wars, Admiral. Terrible ones. But we learned something along the way. The strongest civilizations aren't built on fear or domination. They're built on connections, on the idea that different doesn't mean enemy." She gestured. Around the room, where hegemony officers were now engaged in animated discussions with human crew members, sharing stories and comparing technologies. "You came here expecting us to kneel or fight. But we chose a third option. We invited you to sit at our table." 2 days later, Admiral Kethvar sent a message that would reshape the galaxy. Instead of a conquest report, he transmitted a formal request to the Hegemony High Command. A proposal for the first diplomatic alliance in their civilization's history. The response was swift and predictable. He was branded a traitor. His fleet ordered to return for court-martial. Kethavar's reply was even swifter. He formally resigned his commission and requested asylum on Earth. Within a year, the first human hegemony cultural exchange was established. Within 5, 3 more hegemony fleets had defected to join what became known as the Alliance of Free Worlds. The humans had indeed shown the galaxy fire, not the fire of weapons, but the fire of the hearth, of gathering, of shared meals and shared dreams. And in doing so, they proved that the strongest force in the universe wasn't conquest or submission. It was friendship, offered freely to strangers who came as enemies and left as family. The hegemony still existed, diminished and bitter, clinging to their philosophy of domination. But they no longer ruled the stars unopposed. The galaxy had learned to cook with fire.